For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley, this is The Scribble. We are going to talk about The Talk, and over in Primetime, Hell's Kitchen is wrapping up. The finalists are joining us, and it all starts right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Earlier this week, The Talk returned to CBS after almost a month-long hiatus. You recall that nasty feud between Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood. I don't know if we've got time to recap the entire story, but basically they were going in on Piers Morgan, and Sharon was defending him, that, he's a friend, she doesn't think that he's racist. But nevertheless, the discussion was that, is Piers racist because he doesn't like Meghan Markle and he's constantly attacking? And I understand what Sharon's point was when she said, what did he say that was racist? What did he do that was racist? And because of that, it turned into this whole big race debate. Now, here's where, get ready for this, everybody, as a white man, I can't have an opinion on the story. And I learned that on Monday when I was live tweeting the show's return. Now, I don't watch The Talk because I think that it's too much of a lovey-dovey, we're BFFs and we just talk, we just do the girl talk thing. Well, clearly we see that that's not exactly how they really are, right? And I wanted to watch, which a lot of other people did as well, to see how the show would address the controversy. Basically, Sharon lost her job because of all this. And again, if you missed the story, it kind of turned into Sharon is this white woman picking on a black woman and schooling her on racism and everything like that. But I think on the surface, if you're just looking at the words, right, if I take away the fact that I know who these people are, like let's just say I was reading a transcript of it and I didn't know anything about either of these two. I just saw it as person A and person B, and I'm actually reading it in the context. Sharon had some legitimate points that she was making, right? Now, because I say this, now right away, people are going to shoot me down, me, Jeremy Bradley. People are going to shoot me down and say, how dare you, you're a racist, you're a privileged white man, blah, blah, blah. Well, wait a second, though. Again, when you look at the transcript, if you hear the words, and you don't sort of put these different angles and spins and assumptions on it, then it's a completely different outcome. And I think that's sort of where we've run into trouble nowadays. So let me just talk. I was live tweeting and I was commenting on how it was playing out because I wanted to see how the show would address it, right? They had an hour-long discussion about racism. They had a doctor on who was talking about it. And so one of my tweets that got a lot of attention and a lot of attacking was this. The tweet says, "This is just awkward. A televised therapy session because they had an argument, ? And then it says, "We had a fight. I have PTSD. Someone hold me. Watch an episode of The View. Have these people never worked with others before? What grade is this?" And somebody replied back, "White man says what?" So I didn't say anything about women. I didn't say anything about racism, color, heritage, culture, anything like that. But then people looked at either my name, they say he's a man's name, and then they look at the picture and they see a white guy. What if I just had no display picture and I was just one of those little graphic, little icons of a person? So, white man says what? I reply with, of course that's the go-to, shutting up a white person and suggesting they're not allowed to have an opinion. That's just as racist. The person writes back, how have you been silenced? And a white man trying to claim racism is rich. It's a nice try, but it's pathetic. The fact that you are negating a conversation by women and women of color is a go-to for privileged white males to silence women. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that I commented on it being two coworkers. A workplace spat. So if I were to spin something like if I were to say to somebody, you know what, you're a woman, you wouldn't understand. That's sexist, right? You would call me out as being sexist. You're a white man, you wouldn't get it. Well, why am I not intelligent enough to understand? Right? I took communications. I'm a smart person. So I don't like this whole idea that I commented on a situation that involved two people. Yes, they happen to be women, and yes, one happened to be a black woman. But that's not even where I was going with it. Now, it's funny that they wanted to have this professional sit down and they wanted to have a civil dialogue about it, but yet they're talking about Sharon as though she doesn't even exist. So it's like, well, I'm sorry, the mature and the professional thing is that you mediate, you have both sides of it. You let the other person have their say and defend themselves. So you might be trying to ease tension when it comes to race, but you're not having a two-way conversation here. Invite Sharon on and have her talk about it then, if that's where you're going to go with that. But you can't talk about her as though she's just banished and she's, well, that's not fair at all. We're very quick to accuse people and very quick to go and say, you don't understand. And so what I did was I started to reply to people. I did this as an experiment. I started to reply and say, when somebody would come at me, like attack me personally or whatever it was, I would say, can you please stop attacking gay people? Your homophobia is hurtful. Again, I'm not easily offended. I'm not bothered. So I was just doing this to, see what the reaction would be. Please stop picking on gay people. Can you please stop, and, people would then fire back and go, oh, well, that's the best you could come up with. That's pathetic. That's blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, but don't you get it though? Anybody can be a victim. I can just find something. I worked with a graphic designer years ago. This is like 15 years ago at a publishing company, and this woman, she was a woman of color. She was a Filipino woman, and she was a lesbian. And one of her fellow graphic designers, she would always say, his name was Andy, Andy's he's always picking on me because I'm gay. Like, I just can't. And I'm sitting there going, I have a really great working relationship with Andy, and I'm a big old fag. So I don't get the whole homophobia thing. Like, again, it's hard. You can't claim something like that. You just can't, especially nowadays. Like I said, this was 15 years ago, totally different time. But that's like saying somebody's a rapist, not a racist, a rapist with a P. That's dangerous. Like, you've got to make sure that, you've got your facts right. And so I was so tempted to say to this woman, maybe he just doesn't like you because you're a bitch. Like, that was the point that Sharon was trying to make, though. And she's even saying, like, what did Piers Morgan, what did he say about Meghan Markle that makes him racist? What did he, give me the example? And I say the same thing. What has this designer, Andy, what has he said about your sexuality that makes it homophobia? Because I enjoyed working with him. And I was nice to him. He was nice to me. We had a good time. So I don't see that he's homophobic. He might just not like you. But at the same time, like, if you go through your life as always being a victim, I'm always bullied, I'm always picked on, it's because I'm this, because I'm this, because I'm that. And so it makes me wonder then if people actually want to advance the conversation. And it goes back to the more and more we have the conversation. And let me just say, I'm not denying that racism exists. And I'm not saying that Cheryl felt uncomfortable. But again, the way it was spun was that it's Sharon Osbourne, the white woman, is making the black woman cry and schooling her on racism. I don't see that. I see that now. I do genuinely believe that Sharon was probably blindsided and caught off guard, because the talk isn't known for being like The View and having these scrappy moments. So it was uncharacteristic. So I can totally appreciate Sharon saying, like, I wasn't expecting that. Like, that's not how we do this show. And I get that, right? If you've seen the show, that isn't how they do it. Again, if this played out on The View, could totally see them, setting up Meghan McCain to have a viral moment to be thrashed in the media. I can totally see that happening. And so I feel like when it's always in your face. And again, this is where people are going to say, well, until it goes away, then we've got to keep having the discussion. Think about all those different coronavirus commercials. I'm in Canada right now, and I always see these Government of Canada commercials about washing your hands and wearing your face mask and social distancing. But after a while, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, after a while, you just tune out the message. right? It's like having a nagging spouse or partner, or my mom when I lived with my parents, right? She was always nagging about something. I just shut it down. I just stopped listening. Again, I didn't say that's the right or wrong thing to do, but what I'm just saying is that it's, if it's always in our face, if I'm a white guy and I'm always hearing that you don't understand, well, then I'm going to shut down because I can't win. And I learned that on Monday because, like I said, I'm a white guy, so I can't have opinion about racism. I can't have opinion about women. And then as a white gay guy, well, you're still a white guy with privilege. So you know what, the gay thing, But I said, well, why can't I be a victim though? Right? You're attacking me. I just happen to be gay. I'm commenting on a situation where one of the women happens to be black, but and people didn't understand that argument. And so that's where I just, it was sort of disheartening because we're never going to get anywhere. I just think that it makes me wonder then if people like that woman I was telling you about, the graphic designer I was telling you about, like, if you want to go through life and just everything happens because I'm gay, everybody treats me this way because I'm gay, well, all right, but I don't know, why be victimized your entire life, And so I look at it this way, and the big part of the debate on the talk was that Cheryl said that she was going to be the angry black woman if she came back at Sharon with anything. And so that's why she didn't, right? Because it's going to be spun in the media but the thing is that it didn't happen. Yes, you can be fearful that it could happen, but it didn't happen. That'd be like me saying, I don't want to go to, a foreign country where, gay people aren't allowed because I'm going to be attacked. Or I don't want to go to a southern state because they look at me as a fag that needs to die and I'm going to be gay bashed. But it hasn't happened. So I can live in fear and say that it will happen, but it hasn't. Right now, and if you saw the support that Cheryl ended up getting after this whole thing, I think maybe if she did sort of clap back, I think maybe she would have been applauded. I don't know. I really don't know. But it's, like I said, going back to my tweets, I didn't say anything about it being that, that Sharon was wrong, but I'm just observing from the sidelines. But like I said, as soon as people saw, that I had a man's name or that they saw a picture of me and I'm a white guy, that it discredits me. And so, it's sad that it comes to this and that you can't have a civil discussion. Now, I write my newspaper columns on Mondays and they go out to newspapers. They're printed on Wednesdays and Fridays. And I emailed one of the publishers after and I said, I've noticed over the last few years, I'd say maybe over the last 6-7 years, I've been writing for the newspaper column for about 17 years now, but I said over the last while, the letters to the editor and the messages on our website were civil. Like they were somebody sharing their opinion, because my column always ends, that's my point, what's yours? Tell me at, .com. And the people would give me a good 2-3 paragraphs of why they disagree with me or if they agree with me. And again, that's the purpose of an editorial column, right? A commentary is to stoke that letter, to poke at people, to get the reader engaged, whether they agree with you or not. And I've noticed recently that it's a lot of, you should be, your family would be ashamed of you, the newspaper should fire you, I'm going to complain. And I mean, even the newspapers forwarded me these things, and then they're just like, well, whatever. I mean, the bottom line is that our readers are engaging with the content, and that's really the point. No different than you have these conservative talk radio people. I mean, I often question how many of them actually believe what they're spouting on their shows, right? Because you do it for that moment. You rile up the audience and it gets people talking and it gets ratings and you get your moment of fame or whatever it is. So, it's like I said, because I'm a white guy, I'm apparently not allowed to have an opinion about, women, about race or whatever, and I'm too stupid to understand. Like I wouldn't understand. And I don't think that I've ever said to anybody, you wouldn't understand because you're not gay. You wouldn't understand. Why can't people understand? Well, we're telling them they can't understand. That's the issue. So, anyway, yeah, feel free to unload on me. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And I realize that probably a big part of our listenership would have already deemed me racist in the first 2 minutes of this now almost 14-minute segment. But, that's the thing. I think that when we start telling people to shut up and we don't want to hear them, you can disagree with people all you want. The bottom line is they're still entitled to have their say. And maybe that's almost what we need now. Maybe that's actually the problem, is that there are too many platforms. What would happen if all of a sudden just social media shut down and you didn't have that anymore? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if a country just sort of did that? They're like, you know what? It's getting too dangerous. It's too violent. Shut it all down. It's not legal anymore. No more social media. Sorry. Do you think that would change a lot of the problems in the world? There's a discussion topic. Send me an email live@jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Well, we are just days away from the Hell's Kitchen finale on Fox, and it's down to the final two. Joining us on the line to talk about how scary Gordon Ramsay really is are Mary Lou and Corey. Hello, final two.
Hi!
So let me actually start with that. I mean, everybody loves Chef Ramsay. I mean, I'm joking, of course. But I mean, you know, the yelling, the screaming, the name-calling. What's it really like? Mary Lou, I mean, is it intimidating? What's it like?
I mean, do I wish that he would talk to me the same way that he talked to them little kids? Absolutely. But he's very patient before service. During service, you need to know what to do. He has his expectations. They're set, and you need to get them done in his way.
Well, absolutely. So, Corey, then tell me, and we know that to get this far in the competition, you know, a contestant really has to have a bit of an edge, maybe even a sharp tongue, especially if you're leading a kitchen. So, were you ever tempted to just be like, you know what, buddy? I'm doing my best. Back off.
You know what? Yes and no, because your first intention, someone's yelling at you, you want to yell back.
Yeah.
But I think that we all have to understand that Chef Ramsay has an expectation. He has this is what I want. I'm going to tell you how to do it nice the first time, and the second time I'm going to yell at you because you're an idiot. And I think it's one of those things where I always told everybody, if you got yelled at, it's because you were messing up. It's not because you weren't doing your job. You weren't doing your job properly. So you would get yelled at for that, but if you didn't do anything wrong, then you weren't getting yelled at.
Is that helpful to learn then as a chef from somebody like that, Mary Lou? Like, how do you appreciate his direction and his criticism and his guidance like that?
I feel like he's very direct in what he says. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's never him trying to set you up for failure. It's always him trying to set you up for success. So whenever any of us would mess up, it was our own fault, and he would indeed coach you a very nice way at first, and then the second time it's like, why are you doing this again to me? So it didn't really bother me at all. Honestly, I was just happy to be there, so him talking to me, I'm like, I'm getting direction from Chef Ramsay. How many other people can say that?
I was going to say, right? I mean, it seems like it's got some clout when it comes from somebody like him, Corey, right? I mean, it almost seems like it's an impactful punch in the gut, if that makes sense.
It is, because you're getting taught by and educated by one of the greatest chefs in probably the world right now. I mean, this man has a reputation of success and perfection, so him giving you this guidance, if you're in front of him, he expects perfection already because he already put you there. So you didn't just walk up off the street and be like, oh my God, you know, you're put there because he picked you to be there. So he obviously sees something in you. So getting a little reprimanded here and there is kind of like making sure you get back in your spot.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the actual competition itself. I'm not much of a cook myself, so I can't really relate to this. But is cooking for a room full of strangers more or less intimidating than for someone like, let's say Wolfgang Puck? Mary Lou, how do you feel about that kind of a situation?
Cooking for a room full of strangers is a lot easier than cooking for somebody that you know. Because otherwise, like, I'm cooking for a stranger, I don't care how they feel about me. I'm going to do my best to showcase the food. But cooking for someone like Wolfgang Puck, it's like, oh my gosh, it's daunting. Like, his word is so heavy. So his thoughts, I want to impress him. I want him to say that I'm good at something, because it's not, hey, I like you because I think you're fun, or I think you're cool, I'm going to say something nice. No, his words have weight, and I want to make sure that I'm getting the good of that.
And so, Corey, what's it like to present a dish to, whether it's Wolfgang or Chef Ramsay, for the first time? Because there's got to be, you go up there with a ton of confidence, I would think, so that you don't appear scared. But deep down, like, Are you just like, oh, I could get torn to shreds here, or he could love this? Like, what's going through your mind when he's tasting those first few bites?
Well, it's one of those things where it's just like, I know what certain chefs like. Like, I know what certain chefs want and stuff. When you're cooking for somebody like that, you already know what to expect. But when you don't know they're coming, your stomach just drops. And you're like, oh, my God, I don't know if he's going to like this. And, you know, when Wolfgang talk, especially, you know, being a meat connoisseur that he is, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, my God, is he going to like it? Is he not going to like it? What is he going to say? And you never know what kind of mood they're going to be in. So it's even more scarier. And you lose a little bit of confidence in what you do. Not a lot, but you still get that, oh, my God, what if moment.
What's the biggest takeaway or piece of advice maybe one of those celebrity chefs throughout the season has given to you that's really stuck with you now, Mary Lou?
To be confident and to just be myself, not to really try to impress somebody with what I think that they like. Every time I would cook something the way that I thought somebody would like it, it would always backfire on me. But when I started to cook the way that I like to cook and the way that I wanted to cook, I always got praise and positive feedback. And so it's like, stop trying to be everybody else. Who are you? Just cook the food. Just cook the food.
Yeah. Corey, what about you?
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things where being next to someone as amazing as, you know, Chef Christina, and see as far as she's gotten and see what she's become over the, you know, years, and seeing Chef Ramsay and all the other guest chefs that come on there, you have to take a little piece of each and every one of them when you get off this show. And if they criticize you in something, you can't take it personal. You have to understand that they're teaching you to be better because they see something better in you. So I've definitely learned a lot, plating, just even my style of cooking and just everything in general. I've taken away so much from Chef Ramsay.
At this point in the season, we see there's a switch because throughout the entire competition, you're competing. I mean, you're competing as a team, but you're competing against each other, right? And so now you've got to pick the people who you were once competing with, but also teammates with. What goes into that decision? Mary Lou, I'll ask you about Cody in a second because, you know, I have to. But why Nicole, Amber, and Lauren?
I do. It's really funny because, like, you know, we're picking them like it's God's law. We're trying to pick
Yeah.
who's going to be on our team. And so working with these people the entire time, like, you know these people's strengths and you know these people's weaknesses. And I'm trying to build my team based on who I know works well with me, but also based on their strengths. So I'm picking, I picked Lauren because I think she's really good at making her dishes look good. So I can easily put her somewhere where she just needs to pay attention to detail. I know that Nikki is a very skilled chef, so I can put her on a station that's really hard, and she can handle a lot coming at her at one time. And then I know that Amber has really good leadership quality, and she knows her flavor, so I can have her overseeing what's going on as well as making sure that she has my back. And then you said you asked me about Cody later, so I'm going to leave that alone.
Corey, though, I mean, how confident do you feel when you're making those picks, right? Because in the back of your, I mean, at least I would be thinking that they could sabotage me, right? They could maybe be bitter and not want me to win or do well. I mean, did that cross your mind, Corey?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the first, last, and always, you know, down to the end. Even picking Declan was a roll of the dice. You know what I mean? Declan could be completely bitter or be my road dog and help me through. And I took the chance of him, picking him first because, yeah, he was runner-up, but at the same time, it was like he's still an amazing chef, and if you give him guidance and you put him in a right lane, he will be your second in command. And even like with Jordan's a beast in the kitchen, and she knows, you know, what she does, and you put her in one spot, and she's like a hound dog, man. You put her on that scent, and she just goes. And, you know, with Mark was a wild card. I knew that he got a little flustered and, you know, kind of out there a little bit, but I knew that if I put him close to me, I could control him. And I could tell him, hey, calm down, this is what I need, and I could keep an eye on him in that sense. And with, you know, with Adam, you know, it was one of those things where he was definitely a wild card. He was definitely that one that could totally just sit back and be like, yeah, whatever. And he did it in the beginning, but then once he saw us get that momentum, then he jumped in and he did exactly what I expected him to do. Be and that team that I picked is going to be a good team.
Okay, Mary Lou, let's circle around to Cody, because here's the deal. All season, I mean, you've seen the social media posts and comments and questions. So what was the deal? Was this true feelings? Was it clouded judgment because you were away from others for so long? I mean, what gets you into this situation? Was it a showmance? What would you consider it?
Chef Christina called it a prison romance for me. I found that to be quite funny, but I thought it was real feelings. Like you're with somebody every single day, and you're in the stressful situation, and it was just really nice to have somebody to talk to. I mean, I obviously had Corey, so I was closest with Corey and Cody and out, but, when Corey's with someone else, it was really just nice talking to Cody, nice getting feedback from somebody else that's really experienced and well-traveled, and he really helped me, believe in myself as well.
You say you use the word thought. You thought it was this. So in reality, what is it today, now, April?
It's still good. We don't really talk that much anymore, but if I need to ask a question, I'll call him up, ask him a question. It's the same with
Corey, let me ask you then. Did you all think, hey, these two are distracted with each other, so this could work in our favor? I mean, could you use this as gameplay?
In the moment, I did. I did see a little, being the mom in the house, I've seen this before. But, it's because Mary Lou's a lot like I am, and I think I can say this, Mary Lou, about you, is when you're out of the kitchen, you're a whole different personality. When you're in the kitchen, you turned into beast mode. And I knew that she needed that fun, playful, innocent friendship on the outside of the kitchen to keep her in that zone. And when she was in the kitchen, I could see that switch, and I kept telling her, man, let that beast out, and she did, and now look at us.
One of you is about to, be leading a restaurant during one of the worst times, arguably one of the worst times the industry has ever faced. And, we see restaurants that have been open for years or even generations fail. And that's not their fault, right? It's just happening. It's the way things are playing out. And so this is probably a really, really tough question, but how do you make it that your restaurant isn't one of those statistics? Might be an impossible question, but Corey, what are your thoughts?
It's the luck of the draw. It has to do with your location, having that good location to where, you have a landlord that helps out or, something like that. It has to also do with your fans and, your gathering of customers that come on a daily. That's really important, too. And I know that, money is scarce with everybody, but I think it's extremely important that we do support those local restaurants and those local, mom-and-pop spots that, are unfortunately every single day closing down their doors. I mean, I'm seeing places here in LA that I grew up as a kid closing every single day. I mean, the Arcolite is closing, and that's, so scary and so terrifying because we're in a dying breed right now. And it's just one of those things where you just have to have faith and figure it out.
I feel like it all depends on community and who's around you. Because Corey's in LA, but I'm in Texas, and I need you to know the restaurant that I'm at, we're busy every day. We're beating numbers from 2019. So I think everybody is starting to feel a lot more confident and coming out a lot more. And now it's like you were going stir crazy being inside. Now it's like I can go out. I can do something. I want to go out to eat. Especially because the way that the show has aired, it's like you're seeing all of us, you're excited. I want to go to Tahoe and see what Mary or Corey is doing. I want to go visit, or I just want to go on a vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think being, an outdoor destination as well, right? A tourist destination like that could be helpful.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, okay. We've got about 90 seconds left. 90 seconds. I always love asking the finalists this question. What's the secret to getting in Chef Ramsay's good books? Mary Lou.
I say just don't mess up. Just don't. No. I say the line. Own up to your mistakes. That's it. Own up to your mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. If you own up to it, be fine with it. And don't lie.
All right, Corey.
Absolutely. And also ask a question. If you don't understand something, put your hand up, ask a question, ask him, hey, I don't get this. Can you please explain it to me one more time? And he will. and don't say, yeah, I got it, when you don't.
All right. Well, we're going to be watching the season finale of Hell's Kitchen. Airs April 22nd on Fox. Mary Lou and Corey, thanks for joining us today, and congrats on everything.
Thank you.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Oh my God, we're out of time. Live at jbonair.com is my email address. Talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.
Want more scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,